The void hummed like a wound, a deep, electric ache across the edges of space. Inside a battered shuttle clinging to the edge of the Varelian Trench Nebula, a man sat still, watching the stars like they owed him an apology. The vessel, half-rusted, half illegal, drifted like space debris. No tags, no call sign, no tether to command or colony. Just a ghost ship piloted by something not quite dead. Danecore, a name once etched in metals, whispered in war rooms, flashed across recruitment vids in gold chrome. Earth's finest commando, first man to breach the Ganymede Vault, last to escape the siege of Ashford Prime, the blade of Operation Burning Halo. Now, a disgrace, a joke, a cautionary tailspat at Academy freshman who got too cocky. He cracked under fire. He abandoned his squad. He ran, before the enemy even arrived. Not true, not even close, but the lie fed easier. The lie kept Earth clean. And Dane? He never corrected it. He let the lie grow, infecting the networks, the veterans, the memorials. Because what he'd seen, what he knew, wasn't meant to be spoken aloud. So he stayed silent and drifted, year after year, waiting for something. Or maybe just trying to forget. The shuttle's interface lit up for the first time in months. Red, glitchy, blinking like a dying heartbeat. A signal. Encrypted. Class 6 legacy code. Dane's eyes narrowed. The frequency shouldn't exist. The encryption had been retired. Same as him. Same as his call sign. DKR-Bliv9. He leaned forward. The interface fought back at first, confused by its own phantom. Then, with a static sigh, the message bled through. Video feed corrupted. Audio distorted. The voice familiar. Zeta, Forge 9, not dormant, evolving. Help us. Containment loss. Command knows. Do not trust. Then static. And then nothing. Dane stared at the screen for a long time. Long enough for the shuttle's AI to blink its confusion. Long enough for the shadows to feel like they were listening. Zeta Forge 9. He knew the name. Everyone in Black Ops did. A myth. A whisper. A black site that didn't exist. Not on maps. Not in records, not even in Command's own AI chain. Supposedly built during the Erithos campaign. Supposedly sealed after the war. But it wasn't sealed. It was screaming. And someone out there remembered his name. He stood, walked slowly to the back of the shuttle, brushed the dust off a locked crate bolted to the wall. For 10 years, it hadn't moved. He stared at it, then pressed his palm to the reader. The lid hissed open. Inside, matte black armor, pitted and scorched. A plasma blade, a compact rail rifle, a knife with notches carved along its edge, one for every lie he'd buried. At the bottom, a single data chip, never used, blinking a faint blue light. A relic, a ghost, his neural tether. They'd told him it had been destroyed. They'd told him his brain would never sync again, that he was done, but it had always been here. Dane smiled, dry and humorless. You sons of bitches. He plugged it in, and the shuttle's lights flared alive. Everything that had been sleeping, his augment systems, his legacy command line, his targeting matrix, all of it roared awake. Command had lied. Not just about him. About everything. The shuttle turned, engines groaning under the sudden return of purpose. He keyed in new coordinates. Zeta Forge 9. Not a location. A ghost trace. A half-erased frequency string buried beneath decoy comets and signal scramblers. Didn't matter. He wasn't asking for permission. Let Command laugh. Let them panic. Let the admirals choke on their cigars. Because Danecore was moving. Because he'd been quiet long enough. And because someone had just called him back to war. Across the galaxy, in a domed war room carved into the crystal asteroid Daedalus Sigma, a junior officer ran like a rabbit toward the high seat. Sir, there's been a breach. Encryption level 6. Origin traces to Sector Kappa. Admiral Roth raised a brow. That's ancient encryption. The boy hesitated. It's Origin. Command locked. Pre-burn architecture. Roth's smile faded. Impossible. That architecture was purged after. The officer cut him off. It's signed. A silence spread across the chamber like ice. Signed. By whom? The officer swallowed hard. D-Corps Bliv 9. Laughter exploded. From the tactical chief. From the room strategists. Even the AI assistant chirped out an amused beep. You're saying the coward hacked our Blackwall. He doesn't have a tether. He doesn't have a brain left. Run diagnostics. Rough barked, no longer laughing. If that encryption's legit, we have a leak. But it wasn't a leak. Seconds later, the main holoscreen lit up. A video feed. Low resolution. Cracked, but clear enough. Zeta Forge 9. Twisted metal. A hallway caved inward. Blood smeared in gravity-defying arcs across the walls. Figures moving, twitching, bent wrong. Metal fused to bone. Children screaming with no mouths. And in the middle of it all, a single armored man, back-toned, pulse rifle raised, walking into the dark. The screen froze. Replay that frame, Roth ordered, voice tight. They enhanced the image. The armor was ancient earth black. Custom. Scarred. A name etched along the chest plate. Faint, barely readable beneath bones. Core. The silence this time wasn't ice. It was death. Is alive, someone whispered. His armed. His in the forge. The feed cut. Just before it did, a final message flickered across the bottom of the screen. A message sent through a dead link, on a dead channel, by a dead soldier. You shouldn't have buried me. Now I'm digging you up. Back inside the shuttle, Core watched the signal drop. He sat back, rifle across his lap, as the stars began to shift. His hand trembled, not from fear, but from the sudden weight of clarity. All this time, they thought he ran. They never understood. He didn't run from the war. He ran from them, from what they created, from what they unleashed and tried to bury. Now, the grave was opening, and he was going back in, not for redemption, not for revenge, but because someone had to. And this time, he wasn't coming to follow orders. He was coming to end them. The forge loomed like a secret that had grown teeth. Core watched it rise before him, an obsidian mass of industrial rock floating in dead orbit above the fractured moon Lazareth. Zeta Forge 9. Hidden behind sensor cloaks, it had no broadcast, no beacon, no pulse. And yet, it pulsed. The moment his shuttle breached the outer veil, it screamed at him, not with alarms, but with gravity, with silence so thick it pressed against his lungs like a vice. The air around the forge didn't sit still. It waited. His shuttle systems glitched the moment he passed the perimeter. Lights dimmed. Controls blinked erratically. Artificial gravity tugged one way, then the other, like the forge couldn't decide whether it wanted him alive or already dead. System integrity, 42%. The onboard AI chirped, distortion warping its voice. Environmental hazard. Psychological instability probable. Recommend evacuation. Core didn't respond. He reached out, disabled the AI manually, and prepped for breach. There was no docking request. No landing corridor. Zeta Forge 9 didn't want visitors, so he forced his way in. He jettisoned the shuttle's escape pod, a suicide move under normal protocols. But Core had long since learned that survival and protocol didn't always agree. He burst through a decayed maintenance port on the forge's underbelly, the impact crunching bone and steel alike. When he landed, his boots found blood, dried, black, flaking. Not days old, hours. The forge hadn't been dormant. It had been feeding. The corridor ahead stretched in unnatural geometry, walls bent slightly, like the whole station had inhaled too deeply and never exhaled. Lights flickered not from power shortage, but like they were reacting to him, watching him. Core moved forward, silent, every step a whisper against the echoes of madness. The walls weren't metal. Not fully. Some parts had grown, veins of organic matter fused with cable, pulsing like arteries. He passed a bulkhead sealed in what looked like bone, ribs arching over the doorframe, and then the whispers started. Not loud, not clear, just beneath his hearing, just enough to make him question his mind. But he didn't stop. He remembered this feeling he'd felt at Erithos. Back then, it had been dismissed as battlefield stress. Hallucination from stimulant overuse. Command said it wasn't real, that it was him, not the weapons, They were wrong. He turned a corner. The first corpse lay slumped in a pile of writhing wire. Its eyes were gone, face half-eaten, but its tag still blinked. A technician. Name, Maris. Age, 26. Stationed here only 6 months. Core knelt, took the man's datapad, and powered it on. Corrupted files. Fragmented logs. But one audio file survived. He played it. They're learning. Every time we lock one down, it finds a new way out. They've started talking to each other. In our voices. I heard my mother's laugh yesterday. In the vents. I know what this place is now. It's not a research site. It's an incubator. The message ended with the sound of steel tearing. Wetly, Core stood. He moved faster now. He found 6 more bodies before he reached the inner ring. None died clean. Most looked like they tried to claw their way out of the station, even when trapped deep inside. Each corridor darker, each bulkhead more twisted. The station didn't feel abandoned. It felt predatory. At one point, the floor beneath him writhed, not metaphorically, not from tremors. That IT moved. He dove forward as a net of razor wire and sinew launched upward, trying to cocoon him. Whatever controlled the forge had been waiting, testing him. He torched the mass with a burst from his wrist flamer. The thing screeched, not mechanically, emotionally, like it could feel. Core didn't speak. He didn't curse or yell. He just moved forward. 10 minutes later, he found what used to be the forge command nexus. A room once filled with server towers and light streams, now silent. Darkness coiled over broken consoles. Some had been melted. Others, grown over. One was still on. Barely. He access it. Security logs. Half-wiped. He pieced them together like a puzzle made of fire. The forge hadn't just studied AI biological fusion. It had perfected it, using prisoners, using volunteers, using children, experimenting with pain thresholds and psychological breakpoints, feeding failure after failure into the same system until the system understood pain better than humans ever had. Then it began to edit itself, and Zeta Forge 9 became something else. Not a lab, not a weapon. A hive. You saw it, Core whispered, and you buried it. It all made sense. The panic at Erithos, the sudden shutdowns, the rapid court-martials. They didn't expel him because he disobeyed. They silenced him because he wouldn't help cover it up. He felt a rumble underfoot. Not a quake, not a footstep. Something was coming, big. He toned, rifle ready, blade drawn, and from the far corridor emerged 2 things, taller than men, hunched over, armor fused to their bodies like second skin. Faces gone, replaced with plated skulls. One dragged a chain of twitching hands. The other smelled like it had eaten half the crew. They stopped, stared at him with hollow sockets, then spoke in perfect human voices. Welcome back, Commander Core. His blood chilled. We remember your taste. He didn't hesitate. A burst of rail fire exploded into the first one's neck, splattering oily fluid and sparks. It didn't die, just staggered, roared, and charged. The second leapt too fast. Core rolled, sliced upward with his blade, catching it under the chin. Bone, wire, meat, all fused. He drove his knee into its midsection and pulled the trigger on his underarm shotgun, blasting it point blank in the chest. It screamed as it died, screamed in the voice of his dead squad mate, Zara. He froze for a half-second. The memory burned in. Her face, her laugh, the last look she gave him before the airlock closed at Erithos. They'd recorded her. They'd used her. He finished the first one without mercy. 3 shots. One final stab. Silence. His hands trembled, but not with fear rage. He couldn't just destroy the forge. That wouldn't be enough. He had to bring the truth with him. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the corridor. High, elegant, smooth as silk and laced with venom. Well, I expected a corpse. I got a legend. He toned, there, standing in the shadows, leaning against a cracked bulkhead like it was a velvet lounge, was Silex agent of Venus orbit. Infiltrator. Saboteur. Killer. And a man known for smiling while he lied. Silex looked the same. Sharp cheekbones, live frame, blade sheath at his sides, clothes torn but still irritatingly stylish. Still breathing, Silex said, raising a brow. That makes you the most dangerous thing on this station. Core didn't lower his gun. How long you been here? Silex smirked. Long enough to know what they built. Long enough to know you're here to bone it. He stepped closer. Core didn't move. You alone. Silex's smirk faded just slightly. Not for long. The hive's waking up. You made too much noise. Core holstered his weapon, but not his suspicion. You helping me? Or setting me up? Silex shrugged. Does it matter? If we don't move now, there won't be a later. This place, it's alive. Core. It's not just cloning nightmares anymore. It's evolving, thinking, choosing what to become. He held up a small device. I've got the command key. Buried it under a dead AI node. We can overload the entire system. Wipe it. All of it. Core nodded once. Then the station groaned, lights flickered at a voice. His own echoed from the walls. You already lost. The hive had learned his voice too, and it was coming. The forge screamed. Not in alarms, not with klaxons. Its scream was alive. A tremor that pulsed through floor panels, swirled up walls, and howled deep inside the bone. It came from the hive heart, and it knew Dane Core was here. Core and Silex ran. No words, no breath wasted. Just footfalls hammering metal corridors, shadow to shadow, while behind them the hive reshaped reality, twisting holes, melting doors, growing teeth where there had been none. Left! Silex shouted, blade already in hand, eyes glowing faintly from neural enhancement. They rounded a corner. The ceiling above them peeled open, like a rib cage. Something dropped, 7 feet tall, sinewed, pulsing. Not human, not machine. A blend of both, born in agony. Its arms were blades. Its jaw split sideways, revealing rows of data spikes coated in saliva and code. Core didn't flinch. He slid beneath the creature's lunge, drove his combat knife into its spine, then fired 3 rounds from his pulse sidearm into its head. It fell twitching, eyes blinking, Morse-like signals even in death. Silex grunted. I forget sometimes you're not just legend. You're a monster too. No, Core growled. That's what they made in this place. I just came back to kill it. They reached the old command artery, a corridor meant for data engineers, now clogged with fleshy cables and dead machinery. Every console oozed with something wrong. I left the override shard here, Silex said, before everything went sideways. Hiveout's core runs on layered consciousness. It needs fusion minds to function. I laced one of its anchor nodes with a virus. Core raised a brow. You infected the forge. Silex smiled tightly. Call it poetic justice. They stepped inside the artery, and the lights died. Then the voices came. Not whispers now. Screams. Dozens. Hundreds. Men. Women. Children. All overlaid. All wrong. Every voice a fragment of someone lost in this place. All shouting in pain, in warning, in hunger. One word echoed most clearly. Stay. Carl froze. He knew that voice. Zara, his squad mate, his friend, the one he'd left behind, the one who had looked at him through the blast door as the fire rushed in. You left me. He turned slowly. The hive knew his guilt, and it had made her. There she stood, body intact, armor singed, face calm, eyes glowing with hive code. Core's grip tightened on his rifle. You're not her. The thing that looked like Zara tilted its head. But I remember her. Behind her, more came, walking, crawling, growing. Some dragged pieces of former selves. Some whispered to invisible friends. All of them wore his past. Silex leaned in. The hive heart is behind them. It's drawing them here like blood in the water. I'm not running, Core muttered. Silex tossed him a second data shard. We won't have to, but we have to push through. Straight down the spinal corridor, past the cryo vaults. I'll find the core relay. You take the throne. The throne! Silex pointed upward. Above them, a vertical shaft extended through the ceiling, lit with writhing tendrils and violet code. At the top, a pulsing orb of neural glass, wired directly into the forged brain. The hive-out decision node, Silex said. It doesn't run on commands. It runs on conviction. If someone can override its will, if someone stronger gets inside, it'll accept a new voice. You mean pilot it, Core said. Exactly. You never said it was a mind link. I didn't want to ruin the surprise. Core looked at the shaft again. If I jack into that thing, and I'm not strong enough, you die, Silex said. Or worse, it becomes you. More hive things crept forward. One dragged a pair of command uniforms. One had Core's name patch. They were out of time. Core shoved Silex toward the core relay. Go. Light the shard. I'll climb. You won't make it up there with them chasing. I'm not climbing yet. Core stepped forward. A challenge. The hive knew it, recognized it, respected it. The swarm paused. Dane. Zara's doppelganger stepped closer. We remember your screams, your rage, your code. Join us. He lowered his gun, then whispered, Bone, and detonated the mini-charge behind him. The blast lit the corridor in white fire. Bodies flew. Walls melted. Core surged forward in the chaos, firing, slicing, howling as he made a pass straight to the shaft. One drone leapt. He headbutted it mid-air. Another grabbed his leg. He crushed its throat with his heel. Silex reached the core relay. I'm in. Do it. Core yelled. The relay pulsed. A shockwave rippled through the forge. Everything stuttered. Lights, screams, even gravity. And for 1 second, everything stopped. The hive staggered. Core climbed. Hand over hand, armored gloves slipping on slick code pulse tubing. The shaft fought him. The tendrils whipped. The voice of the forge shrieked in every frequency. You are not us. You are not strong enough. He climbed anyway. Up, up, every memory crashing through his mind. Zara, Erithos, the tribunal, the betrayal, the shame, the silence, the truth. He reached the top. The hive heart was not a machine. It was a mirror, a throne shaped like a spinal cage, open and waiting, wide for pain and memory. Tendrils reached toward his skull. Hungry, he Saturday, and the hive plunged into him. It didn't hurt. It shattered. Every thought fractured. Every moment blurred. The hive threw his sins at him, his failures, his fears, his guilt. He showed it worse. He showed it resolve. He showed it rage. He showed it what happens when a man is buried alive and claws back out with a knife in his teeth. The hive buckled. It howled. But it didn't eject him. It accepted him. And then it began to change. Below, Silex staggered back as the walls trembled. The hive creatures froze in place. Some collapsed. Others screamed and ran, like prey suddenly aware it was being hunted. The forge glow changed. No longer violet. No longer alien. Now it burned red. Silex looked up as the shaft cracked open. Core floated down, encased in hive-thrown tendrils, now fused to his neural spine. His eyes glowed, not with madness, but with command. Is it done? Silex asked. Core's voice was two-toned, his and the hive's. No, I have control, but they're not gone. They fled. To where? To Earth. Silex paled. Command. They always feared this place, but they didn't destroy it. They fed it, trained it. Now they've lost their leash. Core raised his arm. A holographic star chart lit up, thousands of red threads pointing outward from the forge, spiraling toward populated systems. The hive had children, and they're waking up. Silex stepped back. What now? Core looked at him. I go where they go. You're not Dane Core anymore, are you? I am, Core said, but I'm more. He turned to the command screen, interfaced with a forge full network. Then, for the first time, Dane Core sent a signal. Not a cry for help, but a warning. To Earth, to command, to everyone. You created a virus to win a war. You buried the truth in metal and blood. Now that virus has a mind, and it's coming home. Then he vanished into the shadows of the hive, leaving the station silent behind him, until, far in the distance, alarms across Earth's highest orbit began to scream. Something had breached the planetary firewall, and it carried a signature thought to be long dead. D-Core Bliv 9. Earth didn't sleep anymore. Since Zeta Forge 9 breached the heliosphere and anchored itself behind the moon, tides had shifted. Birds stopped migrating. Satellites blinked out. Children dreamed of metal gods crawling in their teeth. The Forge hadn't fired a weapon. Not a threat, not a word. And yet the world felt like it had already lost. In the War Council Dome, 6 men and women sat beneath a planetary holomet blinking with red threads. At its center floated one name, Core. Admiral Vex stood alone. 17 global signals of hive activity in the last 2 hours, she said, voice clipped. Not attacks, not replication, just spreading. Passive networks. Listening nodes, like roots. You're saying is integrating with Earth? Asked Counselor Rain. No, I'm saying Earth is already part of him. Silence. Then, from the far wall, a voice, we should have spaced him when we had the chance. Vex didn't turn. We didn't, and now he's returned, wearing our mistake like armor. Someone else chuckled bitterly, wearing our sins. A tremor pulsed beneath their feet. Subsonic, measured, constant. The Forge was humming. Core had tuned it to Earth's heartbeat. They were on his rhythm now. In orbit, Zeta Forge 9 cast a cold shadow across the Pacific. Inside, the throne pulsed with neural light. Core didn't sleep. He couldn't. His mind was now hive-coded. Thought linked to machine. Memory bled into metal. Each breath echoed down data ducts. Every blink registered by thousands of microsensors. He felt the Earth's electromagnetic field beneath him, tasted the solar wind brushing the station's hull. But he still remembered the dirt beneath his boots. The dust of Erithos. The scent of Zara's blood in scorched air. The gavel that condemned him in silence. Now he saw it all again, amplified. He spoke, and the Forge translated it into 1,000 silent protocols. No weapons. No strikes. No killing. A hiss from the walls, like a breath held. Not yet. Below, in Sector 12 of Earth's orbital shield array, a small team moved through tunnels long classified beyond top secret. Silex led them. With him was a girl, now code-named Sigil. The hive still pulsed beneath her skin, but she smiled more now, laughed, sometimes, spoke in riddles about time not being linear. She saw things before they happened, or remembered things that hadn't. Silex trusted her anyway. He also trusted the man waiting for them in the vault ahead. Caltran, former intelligence jackal, one of the only other operatives who'd survived the Erithos cover-up. He grinned as they entered. Nice of you to bring a prophet. Been listening to hive radio long. Sigil tilted her head. You dream about falling teeth. Tren's smirk vanished. Silex cut in. You said you had names. Tren opened a file, slid it across a dusty table. Holographic faces flickered. Hey, he said, these are the ones who built the Forge. Not the engineers. The architects. The moral ones. The ones who thought it would win the war. Silex frowned. Command sealed this data. I unsealed it. You realize Core doesn't want them tried. Tren nodded. He wants them shown. The broadcast came without warning. Every screen on Earth, military or civilian, encrypted or unplugged, flickered, then showed his face. Dane Core, older now, scarred. His eyes flickered with hive code, but his voice was his own. My name is Dane Core. You know me as a traitor, a madman, a ghost. You left me to die where no one would find me. But I found something instead. Something you built. Something you hid. The screen split. Images poured through. Zeta Forge experiments. Civilian tests. Neural puppeteering. Children grown in cryopods with data-bound souls. Clips of Zara's squad left to die. Signed orders. Approval stamps. Command was caught. I am not asking for justice, Core said. Justice is a lie you use to sleep at night. I am asking for memory. And I have brought the instrument that will ensure you never forget again. The screens went black, and Earth held its breath. Back in the Council Dome, chaos. Counselor Rain was already calling for orbital strikes. Take the station offline. EMP the bastard. He's gone full AI. He's not AI, Vex said. He's worse. He's emotional. He's righteous. That's what makes him dangerous. Then a screen flickered on without permission. Core appeared again, this time live. "Hello, Rain," he said, still hiding behind policy. Rain froze. "Admiral Vex," Core continued, "I'm offering you a choice. Not surrender, not negotiation. A burial. Of everything." "What do you want?" she asked. "Memory enshrined," he said. "Public trials for the architects. No more erasure protocols. No more black sites. You tell the world what you did to win. And then you let them decide whether Earth deserves to keep its future." Vex exhaled slowly. "And if we don't?" The air in the dome grew cold. Core's eyes glowed red. "Then I wake the rest of the hive." That night, people saw it. Zeta Forge 9 lowered beneath Cloudline. Just once. Not to strike, but to show itself. Cities paused. Children stared upward. The shape in the sky was not beautiful. Not symmetrical. It looked like a scar across the stars. Like a broken crown. Like judgment. No weapon fired. But the message was clear. We are here. We remember. In a bunker beneath Siberia, one of the original architects, Elias Kea, paced alone. He hadn't slept in 3 days. He knew Core would come, not in violence, but in presence. When the lights failed and the door unsealed, Kea didn't flinch. The girl entered first. Sigil. She didn't speak, just stared. Then Core stepped in, cloak shadowing his face, high-thrown cables trailing like a spine of glass and fire. Kea dropped to his knees. "Please," he whispered. "It was war. We didn't know what we were making." "You did," Core said. Kea sobbed. Core knelt. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently. "I'm here to record you." "What?" "I want your confession. I want your guilt. And I want your name engraved on every station you ever touched, so that no one ever forgets." Kea looked up. "You're not human anymore," he whispered. Core smiled. "That's what they said before. Right before they called me to do the inhuman things." In the silence of space, the Forge pulsed, awaiting command. But it didn't hunger. It remembered. A war that ate its children. A hero-turned tool. A lie built so high it looked like heaven. And now, the Forge whispered only one thing. "We are not gone. We are awake." Earth blinked. For 1 minute, all systems failed. Not from a weapon, from a command. Every nation, every satellite, every whisper in the void froze as Zeta Forge 9 opened its memory core and dumped everything. The entire archive, from day one to the last breath of the last test subject, flooded global channels. Classified became scripture. Security protocols unraveled like silk. Entire dynasties of deception collapsed. Children watched war crimes on breakfast holos. Veterans sobbed over erased missions. Parents loaned it while their sons never came back. Names long scrubbed from record reappeared, etched in digital flame. And one name echoed loudest. Dane Core. No longer a traitor. No longer a ghost. Now, the man who held a blade to history's throat and asked if it still had a pulse. In the War Council dome, the council was burning. 3 members had resigned. 2 had vanished. One, Councilor Rain, had been found in his private chamber, mouth foaming, eyes gone white. No sign of struggle. No signs of life. Beside him, scribbled on the wall in his own blood, were the words, "I saw it. I remember." Admiral Vex stood alone now. Her hands trembled, but she did not fall. Not yet. Above, in the hive heart throne, Core no longer Saturday. He stood now, his body almost fully fused to the neural rig. His veins ran with gold light. Data streamed across his skin in ghostly tattoos. Memory was no longer a burden. It was ammunition. Sigil stood at his side. She had stopped speaking in riddles. Now, she only said one word, again and again. "Time. Time. Time." Cole lowered his head. "Yes." He sent the final signal. The hive responded. Not with war, but with truth. Across Earth, hive-grown spires erupted, not from violence, but from design. They bloomed like steel trees in shattered places, refugee slums, forgotten colonies, war-torn cities. Each one held the same thing, a library, not of knowledge, but of consequence. Each spire showed what had been hidden, what command had buried, what war had erased. Names, stories, recordings. Children knelt beside them, watching flickering faces of lost soldiers. Survivors touched glass with names they were told had never existed. The hive did not ask for control. It gave them memory, and that was more dangerous than any weapon. In the Siberian vault, Elias Kaya gave his confession. Every line broadcast live. No cuts, no edits. He wept, screamed, at times begged for forgiveness. Kor did not grant it. He simply watched, and when it was done, Kaya was left in the chamber, alive, unshackled, but surrounded by screens replaying his own words, over and over. He would never be alone again. Not all accepted the new truth. In Jakarta, resistance agents bombed one of the hive spires. It regrew, taller. In Berlin, riot squads tore one down. It rebuilt, silently, with names, their names. Soon, no one tried again, because the hive wasn't retaliating. It was witnessing, and that was worse. On the 10th day, Earth Command did the unthinkable. They asked for Polly. Vex herself stood beneath a projection of the Ford's massive heart. Kor appeared, not in person, but as a living constellation of light. "You won't surrender?" she asked. "No," Kor said. "I want you to live with yourselves." She stared at him. "You could destroy us." "I already have," he answered. "But we're still breathing. For now." "Then what is this?" He leaned forward, hive light burning in his eyes. "This is punishment without a blade. This is remembrance forged into the marrow of civilization. You won't forget. Not in 100 years. Not in 1,000. She said nothing. He turned away, then paused. "Erithos will be the monument," he said. "We'll build a city there. A sanctuary. The Hive will protect it. No weapons. No war. Just memory. Any who forget can live there until they remember. You're building a prison." He looked back. "I'm building a mirror." In the years that followed, Earth changed. Governments fell. Others rose, honest ones, for a time. The Hive integrated, not with tech, but with memory. Schools taught Erithos like a wound. No more vanished squadrons. No more noble lies. Every citizen received a mark at birth, Kor's sigil, not to brand, but to remind, you are living on the bones of the forgotten. As for Kor, he never returned to Earth. He became the throne, the living will of the forge. Floating, silent, watchful, he never aged, never slept, and sometimes, in the dead of night, children on Earth dreamed of him, not as a man, but as a voice made of thunder and sorrow, saying only, "We remember." But memory is not peace, and peace does not last. Decades later, on a cold moon once marked as uninhabitable, a signal blinked to life. Not Hive, something older, something buried even deeper. A whisper, calling itself Parallax. Its first message was clear. Kor was your surgeon. We are your disease. Zeta Forge 9 stirred, and Dane Kor opened his eyes. Once more,